I am Michelle Pethley, and my Etsy shop is Shelley's Wreaths and More. I wanted to come back to you. I prepared this wreath kit. Actually, this is the May subscription box from Trendy Tree. And I made this kit yesterday on a tutorial. And I just wanted to basically explain that the subscription boxes are a basic wreath kit. And it provides all the essentials for crafting beautiful and simple wreaths. Perfect for those who are new to wreathing or looking for a convenient and foundational piece to put together. If we add just a few personal touches to the wreath, it can be transformed into a very unique and enhanced creation, allowing for your personal flair to kind of come through, and the creativity that results is truly a one-of-a-kind decoration. So what I'd like to do now in front of you is kind of a part 2 on the wreath kit. I'm going to take this apart and add just a few embellishments and try to make this a different wreath, and show you that just by adding a few different things, you can take a very basic wreath, which is simple and beautiful, and make it more of more to your style. So this is really just kind of an enhancement video, trying to show you, give you ideas on how you can take and just enhance different wreaths. And these are also techniques that you can use. For instance, if you went and purchased a wreath, let's say from at home or from TJ Maxx, the wreaths that are already put together, you can use these same techniques and make those wreaths even more beautiful. So it's kind of a twofold video that I'm trying to help you with. So let's get started, and let's just take this wreath, make some changes in it, and I'll show you what I mean. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the bow. Now the way that I made this wreath was the kit came with 2 rolls of mesh. I cut the rolls of mesh into 30-inch lengths, and before I put the cruffles on the wreath, I used one of the rolls of mesh to put in poofs on the top ring. Here, I'm just going to try to take off this bow real quick. It's tied on. But anyway, so I'm just taking off the bow. So the top ring has 10-inch poofs around the top, and then all 18 of the ties, the wreath ties, have 30-inch cruffles. Okay, so then after that, I took and I put on, I took and cut all my ribbon tails at 13 inches and just paired them up. I paired the daisy and the citrus together, and I paired the plaid and the polka dot. Now these all came in the kit, so in the supply box, subscription box I should say, I'm sorry. And then I just paired them and pinched them in the middle and put them in each twist tie. Now there are 18 twist ties, as I said before, but I left off, you can see I left off 2 here because that's going to be my bow zone. And now I'm just trying to get the sign off. Maybe I should have done this before I opened this up. But in any case, let's go back to the ribbons. And normally, some designers will put all 18 on. I just don't put ribbon tails here because the bow gets pushed on top of it, and you don't need to put that extra supply, the cost of those supplies, in an area that's going to be kind of covered up. At least that's kind of my thinking. And that's why I just do 16 out of the 18 ties, and I'll put my bow there. Okay. I'm almost done with this, and I'll show you some of the things that you can add. Now, I've purchased a lot of my supplies from Trendy Tree, so They are a wonderful source for all the things that you would need to make a wreath or even enhance a wreath. So I would always suggest checking out their website, trendytree.com, and starting there, because you can, like I said, they also run a lot of specials. You'll get coupons periodically if you sign up with them, and they have live sales, which they show you the products before you buy them. You don't have to just rely on what you see in a picture. It's just a very, very informative way to do your shopping, as a matter of fact, if you're looking for new things. Okay, there we go. We're going to keep those because obviously we are going to use those. But what I'm going to do first is I am going to oval out this wreath frame, and I want my bow zone to still be at the bottom. So I'm going to oval it out side to side. By ovaling it out, I just put it on its side and press down. The wreath frame will reshape from round to oval. Just got to give it a little muscles. And I'm not going to do it a drastic oval, but just enough of an oval just to change the shape. Now you see, it really hasn't changed much, other than the fact that now I have another attachment aside from this lemon wreath that came with the kit. I'm going to attach 2 lemons just to give this wreath a slightly different look. Okay, so let's get started. Here's the other wreath sign that I want to put in. Okay, it's slightly different. This one that came with the kit is gingham pattern, and this one is just dots. Okay, and what I'd like to do, making sure that my bow zone is in the right area. Okay, I want to attach them like this. Okay, just to kind of give a little bit more. You can see it fills in a little bit more of the space. All right, then I'm going to put my bow here. And then the other idea that I had is that I would like to stick florals in around the wreath just to give it further enhancement. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take off this there we go. I'm going to take these off real quick, only because I ran out of white, and I definitely need white to attach these lemons. I ran out of white pipe cleaners, so I'm going to put an extender on, but it's going to be a beige, and I'm just going to the only reason I'm doing this is I need to be able to reach different parts of this wreath, and this little tie is not going to cut it. So by putting on a longer one underneath where you can't see, okay, then I can reach a little bit further onto the wreath frame too. And there we go. I'm going to do this quickly, hopefully. What you hope. Okay, so let's do that real quick with this side. And we'll do the same thing to the other side. The other sign that we're going to attach, we're going to do the same exact thing. And like I said, this is just to help us get these this wreath attached. It's got to span pretty much the whole length of the wreath, and a little 12-inch zip tie, pipe cleaner isn't going to reach. These are 20 inches that I'm adding. Okay. And like I said, you'll still won't be able to see. These will be underneath, so you still have the white on there. Then on this one, I'm going to just use the beige. Okay, so we have our first sign done. And now I'm going to do the same with the second sign. All right. And this one's very important to use white only because I actually don't have anything, any white spots on here. So when I poke a hole and the white shows through. Okay, we're going to poke, let's see, this one's going to go this way. And this one's going to go this way. Kind of like that. So I'm going to use the sawtooth that's here, and then this down here, and I'm going to attach down here. So you won't see this one because it'll be overlapped with the other. Now this is just a jewelry punch, and all I'm doing is punching a little hole in the tin, metal sign there, and I'll do one at the top. The one at the top will probably not be seen because we'll be adding florals, but I'm still going to use the white. Okay, and then I'll add the beige to it. All right. Still, this is just extending it, giving it a little bit more length. And all I'm doing is just twisting it on, you can see. Okay. There we go. And then we'll do this one down here. Same way. Go through. Okay, so like I said, if you bought a already designed wreath from a store, you know, you could always add a sign to it. You can add more florals to it if you wanted. Okay, so there we go. We've got them all attached. Thank you for putting up with that. All right, so let's get this one started. Okay. Just have to get the angle right. Yeah, we want that one pointing up, and this one is going to point down. All right. So remember I showed you this needle. It's a plastic needle. It's a crochet type needle that we just used, and the main reason we use this is because of the large eye. So we're going to feed this through the mesh. And we're going to, of course, try to always get one of the, now see, I have to pull it like this. Okay, so don't want this to confuse us. There we go. And this one is the sawtooth. Okay, so I'm going to go in right here, close to this. All you have to do is push this through the mesh, and it comes out the bottom of the wreath. Remember, you just want your pipe cleaners to straddle one of the three rims that are below the wreath. That's the most important thing, because you want your sign attached to the wreath frame itself, not just the mesh. Okay, now let's do this white one. Same thing, I'm going to push it through the mesh. And there we go. Okay, just pull them. Now you don't want it to pull too tight. Kind of a, because you don't want the mesh, you don't want the sign to dive into the mesh. You want it to stay on top of the mesh. There we go. And once I get this sign mounted on the wreath, make sure my head isn't in the way of the camera. Once I get it mounted, I will show you underneath where I've attached it. Let's turn this way, and let's do the same thing here. Okay. This one I'm going to push in close to the sign. There we go. And then the white one will be a little bit further out, but it still will be hidden. Okay. There we go. I'm just making sure my tails are not caught before I tie that down. Okay. 2 out of 3. Now let's do our last one here. This one can go pretty much in the middle here. Because we won't see it, it'll be totally underneath the sign because that sawtooth is in the middle of the sign. Alrighty. There we go. You can see how when I kind of ratchet down on the, there, holds that sign really firmly. Okay. Here's our first lemon. Before I commit to that, I'm going to just redo this one. I want to pull it up to a higher bar so that it keeps this lemon closer to the top of the wreath. See, you'll see what I mean by, see, just by moving it up a bar, it kind of, there we go. That's the placement that we want. Now I have so many ties under here. I want to make sure I'm going to twist the correct 2. Which I am not. There they are. Okay, finally got it. Looks like a spaghetti, ball of spaghetti under here, but let me turn it over and show you before I connect the last sign. Okay, so actually this was a fail. I got it through the mesh, but one of my, I just have to get this. Let's go with this one up here. There we go. Now it's straddling a bar. You see what I mean by straddling that bar? Okay. All right, now I don't cut these until I'm done, until I make sure that my placement is where I want it. But I am going to cut this extra length on the beige ones real quick. Okay. There we go. So there's our first one. Remember, we wanted it up. All right, so now let's put the second one in. And the second one we want just tilted down. So I think the most important piece of that is going to be first, let's get this one in. Let's not cause myself too much trouble. Let's start with a smaller tie already. Okay, so I'm going to use that needle again. Push it down through the mesh and make sure I get it on the correct side of the rim. There it is. There's one. And now remember I said before, if you go close to these these ties are on the wreath frame already. So if you go close to those, you stand a better chance of success if you stay close to those. Okay, so there's one. And so you don't see the tie from this one that's under there. Okay, now let's do this one here. This one I'm going to try to bring in over in this area. And I can actually see that. I can pass it right through. And I'll catch the frame right through this mesh. There we go. Definitely, when you catch the wreath frame with the wires, your attachment really doesn't move very much, which is definitely what you want. Okay, now this one, I'm going to push this one through. And just wait for that at the bottom. And this is the one that I'm going to actually thread through because we want that one to catch the frame. Okay. And there we go. All right. Now let's see. Quickly, just spruce this up a bit. We've got some other things to add, so I'm not going to spend too much time. Just am double checking to make sure that nothing is caught underneath. And we do see this, but it will be hidden by the bow. We're going to make the bow next. Okay, so all my ribbon tails are good. We'll mess around with those in a little bit. Okay, this is our bow zone. So let's quickly turn this over. I'm happy with where the signs are, and we can simply just, I don't necessarily want to cut them, but I don't want them sticking out. So I'm just going to wrap them around the wreath frame, just to get them out of the way so they're not just hanging around, you know, hanging out like this. All right, so I just quickly do that, and then we can move on to making our bow. This also will keep all those strings or the pipe cleaners when I push the bow through. Wait, it won't grab the wrong pipe cleaner. Okay, this is our last one. This one can be cut down a little bit. And there we go. Oops. One more. You can see that this also will give you a good idea on how the ring is now more oval than it was before when we started, just by pushing on it. Okay, so we are good to go now. Now let's redo the bow real quick. And I'm not going to do much to the bow. I just am going to add well, I'm going to change that up because I probably this is a couple of ribbons that I had in my stash. Okay, they're all in the same color theme. They complement this ribbon perfectly. All right, so let's get back to our bow maker. We're going to put a pipe cleaner in the bow maker to start out. Okay, put it down the middle pegs. All right. Now I'm going to reuse this ribbon from our bow. Just going to cut this off. There we go. ribbons. These are still perfectly good ribbons, but when the kit came with just 4 ribbons, all right, I doubled up many of these, made several loops out of this each material. And that's normally not the style that I go with, but that we needed a substantial bow, so that's what I did when I was just using the items that came in the kit. But what I like to do is I like to start with a 4-inch ribbon. And this is still a funky bow. I'm not going to have really long tails, but they're going to be, I want the long tail on the bottom and a short tail up on the top of the bow. So I start pretty much with a, let's see, 12-inch tail. All right. We're going to put it into the bow maker and we're going to twist. All right. Let's dovetail this one right away. Okay. So now the reason we twist, I think I've probably told you before, is that, see this ribbon, this is the inside or the back side of the ribbon. We want that to be in the inside of the loop. So that's why we twist it. I'm going to start with 7-inch loops here. Okay, twist it. We're going to put a 7-inch loop on this side, go out to the 7 inches, and then compress it because I'm only using 2, because I'm adding more ribbons to this. I'm only going to make 2 loops of each ribbon, and it'll still make a large enough bow. So this is the tail that's going to go upwards, and that one is going to be shorter. Okay, so just twist it upwards. And there you go. That's our first one. Using a 4-inch ribbon kind of gives you some, it's a substantial ribbon. And I just like to start with that because it kind of holds the bow up. Okay, now the next one I'm going to do, because this is yellow, I'm going to take my ribbon from before. And we're going to just, I'm going to start it at the shorter end. Okay, so you can see that this was the shorter end. We're going to keep it the same way. We're going to put it in the bow maker on this side. All right, we twisted it, so now the loop will come up around the back and the correct side will be forward. Now we're going to twist again. When I say twisting, I'm taking my right hand, twisting away from me, and my left hand, I'm pulling to me. Okay, do you see how that twisted that? Now when you're on this side and you're twisting the other way, just reverse your hands. You can take and put it in. But actually we don't have to on this one because we're only using two loops. So we just compress it, and then I'm going to cut this off down here. Okay, now this isn't going to go to waste. I will be glad to, I'll put that on my spool, and the next time I use this ribbon, that'll be the first batch that I use from that ribbon. Okay, so we dovetailed. All right, now let's go back in with, I'm going to use the daisy ribbon. Okay, that came with the kit. And we're going to start with the longer tail down at the bottom, push that in and twist. Now in this case, I'm pulling my hand back, and this one's back and this one's away from me. And the reason you do that is, why it switches, it's just where the lead ribbon is. So there we go. This one we're just compressing because we only are doing 2 loops instead of the 4 that I did before. Okay. All right. I just spaced these out. Oh, this actually, I'm sorry. This one should go upwards. So we want the funky bow, the smaller tails on the top. Okay, so can see how this is forming. And what I do when I do build my bow is I make sure that each loop is kind of in a window between things, so it's easier. Now this is the other ribbon that I wanted to try to bring in. This ribbon matches perfectly with the mesh that we used in this wreath. Okay, now we're going to start at the top. So all I do is rotate top and bottom when I'm starting, and anytime it's in the top, I use a shorter tail because I'm using a funky bow. Okay. And I'm just putting in 2 loops, 1 on each side. And then I'm compressing it when I'm done, making the 2 loops, and just pull the tail down. This has a very thick middle part here because of the fancy ribbon that they have inlaid on top of that. Okay, so you can see that kind of brings in the greeny color of this mesh. Now I'm going to go back to the yellow polka dot. This came with the kit. I'm looking for the longer tail only because it has the dents in the ribbon has been twisted already. Okay, this one we just compress because we don't need to. We're done with the loops, and I'm just going to cut a shorter tail for the funky bow. What I'm doing here is just dovetailing. I'll show you a little bit more specifically on the next and the last ribbon. Okay, this is our last ribbon. And this one is, we need to start with the short end again. So we're going to put the short end up here. We're twisting. All right, let's see how this green ribbon picks up that, gives it that green. Okay, the kind of ties it in. And now we're just going to compress this one. Okay, actually I'm going to twist this one and show you one more little technique. If you take and put this around the top peg and then push it down, this little loop right here will cover up your zip tie. And I'll show you when we take this off. I'm going to keep all that ribbon. We're not going to lose it. Now I'm going to use a zip tie to tie up this. I find that your bow is just a little bit, for me, it's easier for me to tie a tighter bow. Okay, now, using a zip tie. Now I'm going to make sure my zip tie goes underneath all the ribbons and then underneath this pipe cleaner as well. Now when I bring it up to this side, coming up the middle there, and I'm going to go underneath that loop right there. Okay? And I just feed it between the pegs just to keep the zip tie in the middle of the ribbon. Okay, I pull a little bit. Okay, and before, see how my thumb is covered up? That's why we put that little loop in there in the middle so that it covers up the pipe cleaner. Now I'm just compressing the ribbon with my hand and pulling the zip tie tighter. Okay, and then take it right off the bow maker, and you'll see that the zip tie is in the valley that's created, the divot that's created by the 2 pegs. We're just going to pull it tighter, as tight as we can. The tighter you can get it, the more these loops kind of spring up. Okay, so now let's just take off the pipe, not the pipe cleaner, the zip tie. We want to keep the pipe cleaners intact because that's what we're going to attach to the wreath frame. Okay, and I'm just going to quickly clean this all up. You don't need to see this mess while I'm finishing up here. Okay, so here's our bow. Let me just take this all, put it to the side again, just so you don't have to stare at it. away at the end. There, now it's a little bit cleaner for you. A little less chaotic, right? Okay. Now, all we're going to do is we're going to just fluff our bow. The way I fluff it is, I build from the bottom. We know that the 4-inch was our first loop. I'm going to put my hand right in the middle of it and pull down on that tail. Okay? Now the next one was this plaid, and I'm going to just pull the loop and the tail in different directions. I'm going to continue doing that. Pull the daisy print is the next one. I'm going to pull the loop and the tail. And all we're doing is pretty much filling in the windows, the little spaces in between each one with I'm going to pull this one, and then this one. Okay? Now, just sort out your loops. Give each one of them some puffiness. Puff them up there. And you'll see how that all kind of fills in. And you'll be able to see each ribbon. Okay, let's do it to the other side. Start with that 4-incher down there. Put your hand in it and pull that tail up. There we go. That kind of establishes it. Now we're going to do the plaid in opposite directions, the yellow daisy in opposite directions, the green and yellow stripe, the polka dot, and last but not least, the citrus. Okay? And there we have it. The bow. You can just keep moving these around, bring life to each little loop. Okay? And this little shield keeps your eye away from that. Okay, so there's our bow. You don't see that pipe cleaner that's stuck in the middle there because of this little shield. All right. Now, let's just put this on our wreath. In the bow zone, remember, I didn't put ribbon tails in 2 of the ties on the top. Excuse me. Okay, there's the top of our wreath, and here's our bow. All right, and see how it kind of fills in. I like to have my bow kind of overlap a little bit of the sign. It makes it all, in my mind, cohesive, all grouped together. And we're just going to use that little needle that I put away already. Okay, and we're just going to do the same thing we did with the sign Chanel stems, pipe cleaners. Just going to feed it through and just make sure that I catch the wreath frame. I know you're going to be sick of hearing that, but it is so important. It keeps your wreath from, your signs and your bows from flopping around. It really gives it a great stability. Okay, and you'll see when I pull these two tightly, you'll see how the bow just sinks right in because I have that wreath frame to kind of give me leverage to get that bow nice and tight around. Okay, and I'm just twisting it. There we go. I'll just take the time to position everything how you want it. See how this bow kind of ties in with that one? That ribbon ties in with the sign. It's got the check or the print buffalo plaid, which isn't really a buffalo plaid, but it's got the check in it. Okay, and all I'm doing is just puffing these up a little bit. I'll pull this one down because it should be at the bottom. At least that's how I designed it. Now, if you don't like the length of these bottom ribbons, feel free to trim them up. And that's pretty much everybody's choice. You know, if you want the ribbon tails to be long or to be shorter. Okay, so I can tell that this one is too long for me. Let me show you how to dovetail. Fold it in half. Here's the fold. You're going to cut from the fold to the point. And it creates that dovetail. Okay, that's a little bit better. Not quite so long. This one is same thing. I'm folding it, and I'm going to cut from the fold. All right. Just take your hands and kind of give them life, and there you go. How about that? Okay, so now I went through my stash and I found all of these yellow and green flowers, some white ones. I have some more here. Now, we're not going to use all of these, but what I typically do when I make a wreath, and like I said in the beginning, I sell my wreaths on Etsy. So I kind of have a style that is my kind of style. And so what I like to do is I love to start with Trendy Tree subscription box and just add things from my stash, or sometimes I actually just buy from Trendy Tree. Now, a lot of these supplies that I'm going to use today did come from Trendy Tree. And so I will give you the numbers of them. I don't know that Trendy Tree still has them in stock, but if you can't find these exact ones, I'm sure you'd be able to find something that would work just as nicely, because they always have a very nice selection. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to take and put something in each one of the little ties down at the bottom. And I don't know if you noticed, but I never cut the ties that come, even when my wreath is done. They blend in so nicely with the wreath, I don't feel like there's a need to. But in addition to that, that's what I glue my my flowers to. The glue with that twist tie just holds it really, really nicely. Okay, so what I'm going to start with, decorating the bottom part of the wreath. Remember, there are 10 ties in the bottom. So I just look for something that has 10 stems, all right? This is a pusher. You push up the greenery. Then I'm going to cut it here, and I'll stick it into each one of these at the bottom. And this will add a little bit of wispiness at the end of the wreath for me, all right? And as well, this one also has the, so some of them have just this bud at the bottom, and this one has a cone at the bottom. I'm not sure that I like the color of that with this wreath. If this was if this had orange in it, possibly I would, but the orange in it is not very dark. To me, it just looks like lemons and limes. So I'm not going to use this part of it, but I am going to use this part. And I'm going to make sure that there are 10 of these stems. If not, I will alternate them with another stem. So let me see. I have 2, 3, 4. Okay, there looks like there's 6 of them. So I'm just going to cut 5 of them off. Okay, now this did come from Trendy Tree. And this number is 83915-YEL. 83915-YEL. And again, I'm just giving you those just in case you want to try to find that. Now I'm just going to cut these with a little bit of length because I'm not sure how long I need them. Okay, so there's 5 out of the 10 stems that I have on the bottom. And the other 5, I'm just going to mix this one in. This one is more the color of that. This one came from Hobby Lobby. This little bush came from Hobby Lobby. But it is a pusher as well. Just push the greenery up the stem. Okay, and I'm going to cut 5 of these off. I'll probably end up using more of this bush anyway because it's great to put in my bow. So I'll cut them all off. There's only 6 of them. So I'm sure I can find something to do with one. Okay. Alrighty. So let's just start. Now I have over here I have my glue pot. It's just an electric skillet that I put glue sticks in. I use Gorilla Glue. I use AdTech, A-D-T-E-C-K, T-E-C-H, I'm sorry. AdTech glue, which I get from on Amazon, okay? And all I'm gonna do is dip it in, okay? I'm gonna put it right in, make sure that that glue touches that stem, the ties, the stem of the ties, okay? We're just gonna, excuse me, I'm sneezing just in case you're wondering what's going on. Okay, now I'm just gonna cut this one down a little bit. We don't need it that long. And I'll just go through, and you can see, with this just poking out a bit, it adds a little bit more to the wreath, okay? So just go through, make sure the glue initially touches that twist tie, and it'll make it, hold it in place. Just keep going around, alternating. Just cutting a little bit off each stem. Like I said, I just slide it in, making sure that that glue touches it. And then it'll hold it right there. What's nice is that the ribbon tails show through. So we're not covering up the ribbon tails. It's just adding another layer. This is the part of wreath making that really makes me happy, because it's so peaceful for me to just kind of go through, add flowers. I take and fix my tails. But this is the part that just is for me very relaxing. My husband is the type that will listen to music and lose himself in music, and he just doesn't understand. I think we'll constantly have this for as long as we're here. I like to lose myself in silence, and this is probably why I enjoy wreath making so much. It's nice and quiet. Kind of think to myself about all kinds of things as I'm doing this. It just brings me joy to do this. And I really hope that that's something that you would enjoy too. Okay. Now, like I said, this is just a skillet, electric skillet that I bought at Target. And just put your glue in it. Okay, and this is our last one on the outside. Bring it out a little bit. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to save this one for later. I'm sure we'll use it. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to use, when I enter flowers or put flowers into a wreath, I start with my biggest blooms, and then I go down gradually to the smaller ones, all right, to the basically filler flowers. I'm going to, I want to see what these look like. It looks like a big mound, but you know, they're individual stems. So I'm going to take one off and just see if it is going to fit in this wreath comfortably. And I'm thinking that like kind of right in here by the bow to give it a little bit of a, I definitely want to pick up white. So I think I'm going to use 3 of these blooms, okay? I'm going to cut off these bottom leaves. They're just filling space, okay? And I'm going to take and just nestle these in, okay? And what I tend to do is I work in like a triangle, okay? So I'm going to put one here, probably one here, okay? And what a triangle does is it moves your eyes, okay? And I do believe I got these from Trendy Tree as well. I'll give you the number. Even if you can't find them from Trendy Tree, I'm sure you could find these someplace else. MTF20711. It's a hydrangea bush, okay? Again, MTF20711. All right. Now this is, I'm just putting them in to see what they look like. I haven't glued them yet. And then my third one, okay, would be over here. Okay, giving it kind of a, see how they hold, and here's, okay, so let's do that. I'm not going to use the buds on that. All right, and I'm going to glue these in. They have twist ties here from the top ring, so I'm going to make sure that I nestle this in. Now these hydrangea bush buds, I always push in a little bit further. I don't want them sticking out too much because they're so big to begin with. And again, this is just how I do it. I'm kind of giving you the opportunity to see and hopefully inspire you to create your own style and to do more. Okay, let's see how that kind of nestles in there. Okay, let's do the same with the other 2 quickly. All right. And I think this one is going to go, let's see, stick it in here. Tell you what, I don't know how many, I'm a very aggressive gluer. And I don't know how many times I've lifted up my wreath when I'm done and found that I have a big glob of glue on my mat underneath. But it peels off, no problem, and I don't have to worry about losing a bud or anything that I glue into my wreath because it's in there securely. Especially if they don't go in the first try. There we go. Just got to give it a little deeper. That's it. And then my last one here. Get the spot open for me so I don't have to fight it like the last one. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's move on to the next flower. I think I'm going to try and add these green mums. I think they're called Gerber sprays. Okay, they're a little bit smaller. And then the next one I wanted to bring in were daisies because the daisies, let's see if the yellows match. Yeah, that'll be a nice addition as well. Okay, so this is technically the next size. So I'm going to cut all of these off. There are 3 branches. Well, actually I have 4. So I'm going to start with 3. I like to work in 3s. And this I know I got from Trendy Tree as well. This is a Gerber spray, and the number there is 29422GN. 29422GN. All right. Now I'm just going to cut each one of these blooms off with a long enough stem. And then if we need to cut the stems a little bit more, but let's give them the longest that they have to offer, and we'll go from there. I'm going to spread these out throughout the wreath as well. I have that other stem in case we need it. Okay. I just give these a little bit of a bend. And again, I'm just kind of trying to work these in, and I work in different layers as far as this is the, kind of more of the top layer. Let's not forget this middle layer. Okay. So we have 1, 2, let's put one over here. Okay. Okay, let's start on this side. Give it a little bend. We'll go down low with this one, kind of zigzag through the wreath. High, low, high, low. Always working in triangles. And like I said, triangle helps your eye go through a wreath or go through a, whatever you're, what you're looking at. It helps your eye move. I like this one a little closer. Let's not tuck it quite so. I'm going to cut it down and then place it in there. Okay, we have 3 more. We do have one more bush if we want to, or one more stem. We'll see when we get there. Okay, we went high. Let's go in the middle of this one. Okay, we'll go up here up top. Try to stay out of your... Okay. Let's bend this one up a little bit. And then finally, let's go lower on this one. Let's tuck this one down. And remember, because your wreath is going to be seen from all different angles. You're going to have short people that are going to come up to your door. You're going to have tall people. So it doesn't hurt to decorate a little bit more on the sides or underneath, or just vary it a little bit. Okay? So I'm going to cut this one down again. And stick it in with this one here. Okay, so once you like the placement, let's go ahead and glue them. I know that there's 9, so let's go around the wreath and just count 9. We'll cut down any that I don't need this long stem on. Okay, so here's number 1. Three. The 4th one. 5th one. Cut it down just a bit. Sometimes I take them out to glue them and I forget where I put them. But it's okay. No right or wrong. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we have 3 more. Should be our last one. I'll double check. Sometimes you just hold them. Oh, and this is the last one. Okay, we may need to revisit more of these when we get towards the end, but for now, I'm happy with that. Okay, so let's move on to our next one, which are the daisies. Okay, I don't like these leaves at all. They're too shiny for my liking, so I'm just going to take, maybe leave 1 or 2 on, but not very many of them. And I'm just going to cut each one, all of this off actually. I'll finish this using this bush today. Okay, now this is a good bush to show you. What we need to do is kind of sort what they are. Okay, we have some that have just 1 bloom on them. Okay, then we have ones that have the baby blooms. So just sort those so that you don't put all the baby blooms on one side of the wreath and then realize that you don't have any for the other side. So this way you can just kind of apportion them around the wreath. Okay, I can see I have a lot more baby blooms than I have regular big blooms. I must have used the other blooms on another project. I'm taking off the second set of leaves that are on these stems. Okay, so these are all the baby blooms. And these are the single blooms. I have 6 single blooms and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How appropriate is that, huh? All in groups of 3s. Okay, so let's just start with the bigger blooms. Okay, and like I said, I just don't know if I want to have those leaves on there. Kind of like just I'm going to take off the leaves on the bigger blooms for sure. And partially because it kind of bites my eye, I think, with the color. Plus they're got that shine to them that okay, doesn't appeal to me. All right, so let's just go through, stick our 6 around here. Well, I know I want one here. Can't forget underneath the bow area. Don't forget that area. I'm going to put one up at the top. And probably one over here. You see, there's really no rhyme or reason. I mean, there's no right or wrong. Just put it till where you're happy. And make sure they don't all just face up. You want them to face out, down, around. Just similar to how they grow in nature, okay? All of those flowers don't grow pointing up. Okay, just move this one over a bit. one in there. Okay. Let's do the baby blooms, and let's see what the baby blooms look like with the greenery on them before I pull it all off. Not bad. It does pick up this color in this leaf, so we'll leave those on. Okay, and I'm just going to go around and spread these just like I've done with all the other ones. Different heights, different locations in the wreath. Boy, I keep going back to that same spot. And it's going to get a flower whether it likes it or not. And usually, if it's fighting me, it's because it's just a little too long. So we'll just take it down a little bit. Okay, I hope this camera angle is allowing you to see how this all fills in. Cutting these down just a titch. There we go. Makes it a little easier to stick them in. I think I got better under the bowl. Okay. Let's see. One down here. Okay. And maybe one up here by the bow. What do you think? That's what we'll do. We'll just tuck it in right here under the bow. All right, so let's get gluing. We know that we have 9 of the small ones, and all you have to do is really just go around and look for your newest additions, that's all. And if you notice, each one of them has different planes. Some of them are tucked in, some of them are sticking out. I try never to go outside of the boundary that the longest, you know, I don't want a flower sticking out here. So I let the greenery that I've added on the bottom be the guide, and I don't put anything outside of that if I can help it, if I remember. And really what's going to happen is if you do, once you're finished with your wreath and you hang it up on the wall, you'll see it, and you'll see that it kind of sticks out. So heard something drop. I hope it's just a stem. And sometimes if you notice, the flowers may look like they're right next to another one. You don't want them evenly spaced out like it's a pattern, you know what I mean? Like, so this one's close to that one, it's okay. You don't want it to be like, you know, 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches. Let them touch each other, let them fill in. It's the look that you're trying to give it. It's like what it's like in nature. Always watch your glue strings. I don't know of anybody who doesn't fight with glue strings. Just make sure when you're done, look closely at them. Pull them out when you see them. See, this is a potential for a glue string right there. This is what I meant on different planes. See how this one sticks out a little further than that one? Slightly different plane. Okay, back to the beginning. Okay, now what's next? Next thing I have, I'm not sure if this color is going to work. I think it, just like the first set of flowers that we talked about, it was a little too orange for my liking. So I'm going to just put those back. The last little group that I have are these little white ranunculuses, all right? And I know I got those from Trendy Tree. This number is 63514 CM. 63514 CM. Okay? And you can see that these are in bunches of 3. We're going to keep them in that bunch. And I'm just going to, I know that I'm not going to need this far leaf, so I'm just going to cut all of these right at this point between the 2 sets of leaves. We'll probably end up cutting them down more, but let's just start there. We'll see how many we have. These are a pretty color leaf. I like that kind of sage color. And who knows, we may just use some of these leaves just as an additive. I'm not going to throw this bush away yet. I might just use some of these to tuck here and there and just give it a little bit of a softness. Because the color of them, that sage, that light sage, is it's a softer color. So let's see what we have here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. And you can see that even the florals are even designed in 3s. Kind of a standard. No, that's not to say that there's a bush out there with, 10 stems or whatever, but generally I think that it really follows the rule of 3s. Okay, so let's put these in now. See how that's just a softer little, so I said 9, so we've got to spread these around a little bit. I'm pulling them out just a little further than the other ones. There's 3 on that side. Hey, little buddy, you're gonna go in a little. I'm gonna have to trim him down because I want him in that spot, but he's just fighting me a little too much. There we go. Let me see if I like this one here a little bit more. I do, just a little bit. There we go. It fills in that spot a little bit more. Nope. Going back to my original spot. There we go. What I might do there is just use those leaves. Okay, let's put him here. need a taller one there. You'll see this kind of looks like it just needs to be pulled out a little bit with a tall flower. A taller stem, I should say. See how that fills it in? And it's still inside of the, once I glue it in, it'll stick a little bit better there, that way. Okay. I have 2 more. I need one up here. Nope, that ends up looking like a bunny ear. And then look at that. Still coming back to that original spot. Okay, so I'm kind of happy with that. I do have them all placed around. Let's glue the 9 in. And I'll tell you what, it's until you get comfortable with sticking these flowers in, I would suggest, I really do think just this dry run kind of, where you place them where you think you want them, let your eye kind of adjust, look back at it, see if it fits in there, see if it accomplishes what you want. I think that's the safest way to get started. But I'll tell you this, if you glue it in, you change your mind, you can pull it out, you can trim it out. There's no worries about that. Many times I've gone to take pictures for my Etsy shop, and when you see it with a camera, it really shows your, I don't want to say mistakes, it just shows where there's some changes that need to be made. You know, I don't know how many times I've gone and thought it's just perfect, then I go and take a picture of it and, oh, this one sticks out too far, or these, or my biggest problem is usually like 2 of them are too close together and they end up looking like ears, you know, like monkey ears, or just happens to everybody. And that's okay, you just go back and redo it. Pull them out, re-glue. This is the one that I have to make sure does not sink in too far, because I need the height on it. There we go. That fills it in. The other thing that you notice too is those dark leaves on the daisies. Remember we left the dark leaves on the daisies? Those create like almost, they look like dead spots, you know, but you know, on the camera, what you're looking at, it may look like it's a dead spot, but it really is just the leaf that's very dark. So, you know, I saw something up here. Get my glue strings out of there. Okay, just have a few more. I know we started around the bow area. Oh, I think we started here, didn't we? Yes, these are all glued in. Okay, so that is pretty much all I'm going to add to this wreath. I do see a spot here that I want to soften up, and remember I said I might end up putting these in. Let's see what this little leaf here looks like. It's a softer leaf because of the color. Yep, I think I'm going to glue that in. Just trim it down a little bit. But see what I mean? You'll see when you take a good look at your wreath. You know, there. Just soften it up. Now, the other thing is, once I start that, I don't want that to be the only spot that has these leaves. So I'm just going to trim off a few more of them and spread them out. Just just so it doesn't look like I just had one little patch there, okay? So I'll just go through and find little places that I can glue these in. And that way it all looks cohesive. Usually if there's a little too much mesh in an area, it helps to kind of put a leaf there. You know, break up your mesh. Cut this off. Like here's a spot that I can tuck one in. All I saw was the stem. Okay. Same for one down here. There's a big daisy that has the stem. Remember we cut the leaves off the big daisies, but there we go. And I'm going to end up using the rest of these little leaves. There we go. Okay, get this glue string off. Let's see what we have over here. This one's a little bit high. Put a leaf there. Last one. I think I'm going to concentrate in this area down here by the bow. There's a kind of a large area of mesh that can benefit from a little tuck in, and there we have it. Let me clear everything away so you can just see the wreath. All right, get all my glue strings off. And there we have it. I hope you like this, and even if this is not something that you would do to your wreath kit that you got, just so you know that this is a technique that you can use. Like I said, use it on the subscription box if you want, or if you have a old wreath that would benefit from a little sprucing up. If you find a wreath in a store that's already pre-made but just needs a little bit more character, just use any of these techniques, and it'll take a wreath, a simple wreath, and just totally change it. Again, thank you so much for spending the time, and have a great afternoon. We'll see you when I do the June box.